The training grounds of Outpost Veilar stretched across the rust-colored plains of Keth 7, a neutral world where dozens of species came together under the banner of the Galactic Coalition. Here soldiers from 100 worlds learned to fight side by side, their differences melting away under the brutal sun and grueling exercises. Lieutenant Rhea Solon moved through the obstacle course with practiced efficiency. Her boots barely touched the ground as she vaulted over barriers, her lean frame a blur of motion. The other species watched with a mixture of respect and wariness. Humans were still relatively new to the coalition, and their reputation preceded them, reckless, emotional, frighteningly resilient. What they didn't know about Rhea Solon was that the silver medal pinned to her chest represented something far more significant than most would ever guess. The Coalition Star of Valor wasn't given lightly. She'd earned it on Arcturus Station when she'd held a breach point alone for 47 minutes while evacuating 300 civilians, human and alien alike. The medics had found her unconscious, covered in burns and blast wounds, her weapon still clutched in her hands. She never spoke about it. Not once. After training, Rhea stripped off her tactical vest in the communal locker area, hanging it carefully on the designated hook. The metal swung slightly with the motion, catching the artificial light. She grabbed her water canister and headed toward the showers, her mind already on the next drill. She didn't notice when the pin's clasp, worn from months of use, finally gave way. The metal dropped silently to the dusty floor, sliding beneath the equipment rack. The cubs arrived an hour later. Kethy and Young weren't like human children. They were born with sharp teeth and sharper instincts, their predatory heritage evident from their first steps. But they were still children, curious, playful, and desperate for heroes to emulate. A dozen of them tumbled into the training facility, supervised by their creche keeper, Elder Thoss. It was part of their education, watching the Coalition soldiers train, learning what it meant to protect rather than simply hunt. Cub Drav was the boldest of the group, his golden eyes always seeking out the most interesting details. While the others watched the Vrexian soldiers practicing their formations, Drav wandered toward the edge of the facility. His sensitive nose picked up 1,000 scents: metal, sweat, the ozone smell of plasma weapons. And then he saw it. The metal lay half hidden beneath the rack, its silver surface dulled by dust but still unmistakably important. Drav crouched low, his small clawed hand reaching out to grasp it. The moment his fingers closed around the metal, he felt something shift in his chest. It was warm, not from the sun but from something else. Something that had soaked into the metal from the person who'd worn it. Courage, sacrifice, love. The other cubs gathered around him. Their ears perked forward with curiosity. "What is it?" asked Cub Shara, the smallest of the group. "A medal," Drav breathed, turning it over in his hands. The inscription was in Coalition Standard, words he could barely read but somehow understood. For valor beyond measure. Without hesitation, Drav lifted the medal and placed it around his own neck. The chain was too long, designed for an adult, but he didn't care. The medal hung down to his chest, heavy and real. "It's a crown," he declared, his voice filled with awe. "A crown for warriors." The other cubs pressed closer, their eyes wide. They'd seen crowns before, ceremonial pieces worn by clan leaders and hunt masters. But this was different. This was earned through battle, through protecting others. This was what they all aspired to become. Elder Thoss approached, ready to scold Drav for wandering off, but stopped when he saw the medal. His ancient eyes narrowed as he recognized the symbol. "Child, do you know what you wear?" "A warrior's crown," Drav repeated firmly. "Someone brave dropped it. Someone who fights for others." Word spread quickly through the outpost. By evening, half the facility knew that one of the Kethian cubs was walking around wearing a Coalition Star of Valor like a prize. Some found it amusing. Others thought it disrespectful. Rhea Solon found out when her commanding officer called her to his office. "Lieutenant, are you missing something?" Commander Prex asked, his mandibles clicking with barely suppressed amusement. Rhea's hand went instinctively to her chest, finding only fabric. Her eyes widened slightly, the only outward sign of her distress. "My medal, sir." The clasp must have failed. It did. And apparently one of the Kethian cubs found it. Prex pulled up a holographic image on his desk display. There was Cub Drav, chest puffed out proudly. the silver medal gleaming around his neck as he demonstrated combat stances to his peers. Rhea felt her breath catch. She'd expected anger, maybe embarrassment. Instead, she felt something warm unfold in her chest. The cub wore her medal like it was the most precious thing in the universe. Not because of its material worth, but because of what it represented. "I'll retrieve it, sir," she said quietly. "See that you do." Gently. Rhea found the cubs in the recreation area, Drav at the center of an admiring circle. He was in the middle of a story, his small hands gesturing wildly. And the warrior held the line alone, protecting everyone behind her. Like a mountain that wouldn't move, Rhea stopped at the edge of the group. Drav hadn't seen her yet, but Elder Thos had. The old Kethian gave her a knowing look. "And she wore this crown," Drav continued, touching the medal reverently. "A crown that means she chose love over fear, strength over surrender." "That's right," Rhea said softly. The cubs spun around, their eyes locking onto her. Drav's expression transformed from surprise to pure joy. You're the mountain warrior." Rhea knelt slowly, bringing herself to eye level with the young Kethian. "That medal you're wearing, it's mine. But you know what? You're right about what it means." Drav's ears drooped slightly. "I have to give it back?" "Yes," Rhea said gently. "But not because you did anything wrong. You honored it by understanding what it really represents." She reached out, her fingers brushing the silver surface. "It's not about rank or glory. It's about standing between the ones you love and the darkness that would harm them. It's about saying, 'Not today, not while I still breathe.'" She carefully lifted the medal from around Drav's neck, but before she could put it away, she paused. Her eyes met the cub's golden gaze, seeing the hero worshipped there, the desperate desire to be brave and good and strong. Humans understood that desire intimately. "Tell you what," Rhea said, her voice thick with emotion. "When you earn your own medal someday, and I think you will, you come find me. We'll compare scars and stories, deal?" Drav's chest swelled with pride. "Deal!" As Rhea stood and refastened the medal to her uniform, the cubs watched with newfound respect. This human hadn't been angry or cruel. She'd seen them, really seen them, and treated them with the same dignity she'd give any soldier. Later that night, as Rhea sat alone under Keth Seven's twin moons, she held the medal in her hands. It had been through fire and blood, through desperation and triumph, and today it had meant everything to a small cub who'd seen past the medal to the heart beneath. She smiled, a rare expression that softened her battle-worn features. Maybe that was the real strength of humanity, not their resilience in combat, not their stubborn refusal to quit. Maybe it was their ability to see the potential in others, to lift up the young and vulnerable, to turn a dropped medal into a crown, worn with innocent pride. Cub Drav never forgot the mountain warrior, and years later, when he earned his own medal defending a human colony from raiders, the first person he showed it to was Lieutenant Rhea Solon. She wore her crown. He wore his. And between them, they'd protected countless lives. That was the human way. And slowly, beautifully, it was becoming the coalition way too.